Hello, YouTube. Today I want to talk about a topic that has really been on my mind recently. So, this is not usually what I do for content. I do mostly content like tutorials on like internet stuff. It doesn't matter, usually Roblox and whatnot. But right now I have a 100-degree fever. So I'm kind of at a point where I'm kind of trapped at home right now. And I apologize if I like cough, sneeze, that it's a result of me being kind of sick. Um, so yeah, and I might say a lot of ums. But anyway, today I wanted to talk about a problem that affects us all, actually. Most of us, if you're American, anyways. Uh, if you live in a world where you have your basic needs met, you have shelter, you have food, you have water, all that stuff. All that stuff is met. So the problem that we face today is more so up here. It's usually in that part of ourselves, subconscious, psychologically, all that stuff. Um, and it's important that we feel things, right? It's normal to be sad. It's normal to feel down sometimes. It's normal to just feel sad and not really have a reason to be sad. But a bigger issue today is when it's all the time. And when it's all the time, that's an indication that there's something else going on. Kind of like physical pain. When you're in pain, it's for a reason. Uh, it doesn't matter what it is. Whenever your body is physically in pain, there is a reason that it is in pain. Whether it's, you know, a drug, whether it's getting stabbed or penetrated, um, having an open sore, that's not normal. So obviously, you're going to feel repercussions from that. But psychologically, it's similar, but you can't exactly really measure. I mean, you can, but you can't measure psychological kind of issues. What I mean by that is like a lot of what we do in the world is we work for someone, we work for someone else, we do things for someone else, we work a company that we probably prefer not to be in, right? We work at a place where we ultimately have to follow guidelines. Uh, and you get home and say, presumably, as an adult, you work 30 to 40 hours a week. Um, you're a lot of that time you're at work. Uh, if you're at a job where it's kind of low end, obviously you don't have the power to, you know, tell people what to do. You can't tell, you can't change things like that. But I see this with a lot of young people like myself. I'm 19 years old, where we're at a point in our life where we feel lonely, not because there isn't people around. There's plenty of people around in urban area, um, and suburban area. But the worst part of that is when you feel lonely and everything around you, everyone around you is just something's not right. You know that you feel that people just don't connect with you because it's all on the surface. It's all a mask. It's all an act sometimes. If you're disabled or if you're disabled, uh, you may have you may suffer the consequences of not being able to fit in. and therefore you are cast out from people that can fit in. I grew up. I was diagnosed with both ADHD and autism, and I now know social skills. But when I was younger, that just didn't come to me naturally. I had to learn it through going to special, um, doing special programs and whatnot. And what I've noticed is that when you are that kind of person, people just don't get you. People just, they don't understand why you are the way you are. They don't understand why you do these certain things, why you move your body in certain ways, and people think you're ultimately weird. And a lot of high school is hard for that, but it made me realize a much larger issue of people are lonely because there is a lack of connection within us all. We have created a society where everything we do, right, unless you go to a therapist, but even then, I'll get to that some other time. Even then, it's all superficial. We say things that people want to hear, we do things that people want to see. We don't do things that are kind of out of it. We don't do things that don't fit into that structure. And that's a huge issue if you think 5 seconds about the way that society is structured. Because if you don't go to the societal norms, if you don't act or behave a certain way, you're cast out for it. And I was one of those people. And you don't even necessarily have to be cast out for thinking differently, but you can be cast out for having different beliefs. You can be cast out and lonely for pretty much viewing the world differently than, I don't want to say most people, but a lot of people. And loneliness really is that ingredient of, something's wrong, and that people around you, they misunderstand you, they misrepresent you. Even your family and friends, they don't, they might not understand. Um, some of us have those people, but not everyone does. What I would say to all of this, to being kind of lonely and, lacking friends, and, being in this situation where, you're very anxious, is the thing that's stopping you is because you have fear. And I'm going to explain. The reason why you fear is because it's because of changes. We all subconsciously fear change. We live in the we live in a society. We live in a society now that practically everything, it teaches us to be in our comfort zone, right? We do easy tasks. We have jobs uh, that aren't really that hard. You just kind of do the same thing for 8 hours. You go home, you eat food that tastes good, not because it's healthy, but because it just tastes good. You may go on dirty websites, for pleasure for like 5 seconds. Um, you may play video games to distract yourself, um, and these things are okay within proportion. It's really all about proportion. There's a difference between drinking one soda, which I have a problem with myself, caffeine addiction. There's a difference between drinking one soda every 3 days versus drinking 5 sodas per day. And usually, when it gets to that point, it's because when we're lonely, it's a distraction. It's something to distract us from the bigger picture. What I say to all this is to get out of your uh, comfort zone. And that's so much easier than said. It really is. And the reason for that is because you can say things, but once you do them, there's so many other physical elements, you're like, oh my gosh, like what am I gonna do? You know, if there's this girl you like, you can't even really talk to her because you don't know what to say, you don't want to look bad. Just don't give a shit, you know? And that sounds hard, I know. But if you if you say good things to yourself over and over again, saying things like, I'm worth it because I am capable. I am physically capable of doing these things. I don't want to hear all these bullcrap voices in my head that say I can't do it. At first, it doesn't work, but actually, these synapses in your brain, without you even thinking about it, because it's all subconscious, begin to rewire themselves. And the more you repeat a certain phrase, the more you repeat or do something, the more stronger that bond or connection is. Confident people do not become confident overnight. They become confident because over time they were able to structure, right, restructure their brain and form a bridge that increasingly became stronger and stronger of them thinking that way. It's kind of like any good habit, it's kind of like any bad habit. There are a difference between good and bad habits. But ultimately, I think a lot of what makes us lonely, like I said, is because we fail to have connection with each other. And being lonely, it sucks. I know it sucks. Okay, I did not have many friends for a lot of my childhood, so I get that. It's just the thing with me is when we see the world as a black pillar, when we see the world, when we blame the world for our problems, when we do things, when we blame other people for our own mistakes. We all have mistakes, but when you don't change those mistakes, that's how you become that's how you become nihilistic. That's how you become, if you, for example, crisp example, if you're shifting all of your blame on women, that's how uh, incels became a thing because romantically um, they're romantically unsuccessful. Instead of working on themselves, instead of you know messing up and getting rejected, they just say, no, all women suck, all women are bad, and I blame them for me being awkward and for me having these viewpoints of women, of all women, that isn't necessarily true. So, but that's just one little thing, and I might do a video on that one day. But the big problem is we all pretend to be someone we're not. When they say be yourself, there's a lot of merit to it. I mean, yeah, it's kind of corny and it's a basic quote, but it has merit because when you're yourself, you don't really give a shit what people think, and it evolves over time. And I know that when you're starting off a journey of better thinking, when you're starting off ways of having a better mentality, it's hard because your brain is literally not structured the way to think positively, right? Your your natural tendency is to, you know, be whatever your brain's most environment is, whatever the environment it grew up as. Um, and to change that isn't easy because you may not be in a situation where you can really go many places. I am in a situation where I don't have my driver's license. Yes, I'm 19 years old and I do not have my driver's license, and that's a lot of people don't. Um, I'm out of high school, so I don't really have many people to talk to. But the last part of all of this I want to get to is social media. Social media is by far, I think, and I know I'm not alone in this, is one of the biggest factors of what make people unhappy. Because you see, I don't use Instagram anymore. I used to, but I realized when I was using Instagram that I was taking pictures of myself. I was taking a selfie, but it wasn't for a reason to, it wasn't for a static reason of just taking my picture because I felt like it. It was because I wanted people to think that, you know, I wanted to have people to have an impression of my identity. You know, it was a way of expressing myself, but it was on a platform that is not for personal expression. I stopped I stopped it because I saw an unrealistic image, a lie essentially, of what social media wants me to see, wants me to think is reality, when it really isn't reality. People aren't always smiling, people aren't always at parties, people aren't always hanging out with their best bud. You know, people aren't always having that kiss with that girl. No, 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 no. Because that is a misrepresentation. These are very small moments of people's lives that are saturated and perfected into the way that they want. Celebrity, amateur person posting, whatever. This is not because they're happy. I mean, they could be happy, but they're not always happy. And in fact, I would say that's like that image is like 0.0000001% of their actual life. It's like a movie, how a movie is unrealistic because we see the world through the lens of, say, someone who could, a hero who's really important, you know, someone who's going to save the world because they're so important, or they do something spectacular, you know, these extreme examples of joy and happiness that we we compare it subconsciously to our own lives, and we feel like shit because we compare ourselves. We're like, hey man, why are my friends, you know, why are my friends all, you know, having a good time? Why is my friend, you know, I play guitar as well. Why am I just at home while he's going to concerts and he's playing and he has a successful band? It's not reality. It's a very small snippet of what they want you to see. You have to remember all humans have sadness. All humans suffer. Some people are just better at hiding it than others. I was one of those people that was very sensitive, and I still am very sensitive to what people say. But I've had to teach myself that, say, if I see a comment, right, if I see a hurtful comment, and it doesn't even necessarily go towards me, but if it says like something like, oh, your dreams, you're most likely never going to become a millionaire. You're 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 too weird for people to, you know, an example, right? And people, you know, this, I had to teach myself that that's not reality and that's someone's flawed perspective of a way that they want to affect me, right? That's what bullies want to do. They want you to suffer to raise themselves. That's why it's so selfish because they're putting you down. They're saying something about you that put you down to rise them up. Um, and the biggest part, well, not the biggest part, but this is, I know I've ranted for 20 minutes, but loneliness can be, we can improve it. right? We're always going to have that loneliness. We're always going to be in our own mind. But it's our responsibility to not let loneliness consume us, right? Say a school shooter, for example, they're bullied or they are in a situation where they're trapped, and because of their awful environment, because of what people have done to them, they have created this mindset for themselves that the because of how they've suffered of being lonely, right? Because like Elliot Rogers, I don't think that was his name, but like the incel guy, right? Because of how lonely he was, he projected his anger onto the world in the worst way he possibly could. And it was revenge, it was revenge in a sense. I'm not saying people you're going to go do that. In fact, that most people don't do that. But that's an extreme example of what happens when you let loneliness completely consume you. Suicide, for example, you know, it's the ultimate solution to a temporary problem. Life is temporary. Death is not temporary. Um, I just, I'm getting to the end of this, but I just want you guys to know, whoever's watching this, that the loneliness you feel right now is temporary. I don't know what your life situation is. I don't know what you're going through. But I can say it doesn't feel like it because we don't conceive time that way. But everything is temporary. Loneliness is, yes, it's constant, but the feelings of loneliness isn't constant. We can have moments of joy. To make ourselves better people is to acknowledge that we feel lonely. It's not to put ourselves down. It's not to tell ourselves that we're not worth it, that we're bad people, that we don't deserve this girl because we get rejected by her. We're not, that is not who you are. That is a, a, a willingly deceitful subconscious representation of what society has wanted to put on you. In this modern world, unfortunately, that's the case. What you have to do is you have to take responsibility for yourself. You have to know that things are going to be okay and that I can change this because nothing is ever permanent. The mind is fluid. You can change it. And I'm going to make future videos on this because it's really important to discuss this. And if I made a judgment that was flawed, if I said something that was flawed, I want to correct that. I want you guys to tell me that no, this is not how I feel. And I want to make a video based on that and see the advice that I can give for that. Okay, I'm no guru. Okay, I'm not even like I'm not special, okay? I'm not important whatsoever to society. But I tell myself that happiness comes from within us. It's not necessarily a choice, but it's something that in the long run we can direct ourselves to be with enough effort. Um, and we can do that. We can transform it into something good, like helping other people, or we can do it in a sense that we can bring it towards to increasing our health and whatnot. Okay, I did not want to make this video because I'm really freaking sick right now, but I knew that this would be the best time for me to make this video, approaching loneliness, because this is all a problem we face. And like I said, I want you guys to know that loneliness, we see an illusion of what society tells us. We see images of, like, people, or we see advertisements that say, it's maybe for like a fuzz drink, and it says, oh, you have to have this perfect, happy, saturated life by the time you're 25, and if you're not, well, too bad. Or you see YouTube videos of like really famous YouTubers, and they're like, "Oh, hey guys, we made it to 3 million subscribers, and this is how great our channel is doing." And you're a YouTuber, and you're like, "Oh man, why do I only have 57 subscribers?" So a lack of happiness comes from when we compare ourselves to other people, when we let reality, well, not reality, false reality actually, when we let other people and other ideas in social media control us, when we let it uh, tell us what to do. I know I've talked forever, but at the end of all this, so you may be asking now, so how can I become better? How can I improve? Find what you really like doing. If you know what it is, great. Pursue that. Even if you don't feel like it, try it. Because that is getting out of your comfort. It's doing something that you're breaking the cycle of. Okay? 99% of people are not doing what you're doing when you're doing that. If you fail to do it, that's okay. Try again another day. I'm really into art, and I really like painting, and there's days when I just don't feel like doing it, and I don't put myself down for that. Okay. Another example is consumption, like I said. It's all about quantity. Is it okay to, if you're addicted to caffeine and you're trying to wane down, you don't have to go from drinking power machine protein drinks, from drinking immediately from drinking soda. You can just wane it down and drink less of it. Like, drink one or two a day, whatever is deemed possible for you. That also goes to dirty websites. That goes to consuming anything. It's all about consumption. For example, we spend 7 hours of our time on social media per day. Okay, the, this is not me just saying that. This is national agencies, right? National sociology studies that say these things. We spend 7 hours of our time on social media. So wane that down, because I guarantee what a lot of the stuff you can't describe, but why you feel like shit, is because of these habits. And don't put yourself down for being in the situation. Acknowledge it and start slowly. For example, get a journal, get something to write it down in whatever way that fits with you, and try there. If there's a day where, say, you get back on the old schedule of, you know, drinking 5 sodas a day, then try again another day and promise that to yourself. You know, promise that you will do this, and that you will do it at this certain point, because that is breaking that barrier. Um, so yeah, consumption, not letting the bullshit that social media tells you what to think, weighing that down, stop consuming the news, or like stupid, like things on the stupid drama channels. Stop consuming that. Press ignore, or get a YouTube. Or what's it called? Distraction free or whatever. So you can only see videos you want to see. Maybe uninstall, uh, apps where you can compare yourself. Um, like I said, I just want the best for all my brothers and sisters. Not literally, I actually single child, but um, I just mean for all the people that come across this. I want you to know that I want you. I don't care who you are. I want you to do better. I want you to make you a better version of yourself by what you feel deep down. And I know that sounds dumb, right? I know it sounds dumb to believe in yourself, but that's exactly what society wants you to think. It wants you to think it's stupid. It wants you to think that it's dumb to believe in yourself. But I can't even describe, okay, my life is not perfect. And in fact, it's not in a great place right now. But believing in myself and my capabilities slowly has got me to where I want to be right now. And I'm in a much better place because of adopting that mindset. Okay? Your life isn't going to get better overnight by practicing these things. It's long term, and you need to remind this to yourself. You need to resist. And it's painful, I know, but you have to resist these these urges. And if you break it, it's okay. So I will make future videos on all this. You know, just remember you're not alone. We hundreds of millions of people in the United States feel what you're feeling right now. You know, feeling like nobody understands you, feeling like, you know, maybe I don't know what it is for you for girls, but you know, maybe you're unsuccessful with women, but you know, or maybe you're in a situation where, you know, maybe someone was mean to you, or maybe you're broke. These are all things you can improve, and I'm not the only person out there. There are gazillions of people out there that explain this better than I do. So, uh, if you had the attention span to finish this video, I greatly appreciate it. I upload videos of pretty much whatever, tutorials, Roblox stuff, you name it. Uh, I have a music channel called Nodlock, Nodeblock, Nodlock, yes. Um, and I wish the best for you guys. Um, and that's really all I have to say now because I'm running out of words. So, yeah. Peace, guys. Yeah. All right. Have a good one.